Hello everyone. Happy Saturday evening. I hope that you have had a wonderful Saturday, that you have checked off your to-do list, and that tonight you are able to just sit down and enjoy the quiet of the evening, maybe watch a movie, or join me on this live. I hope that each of you are just doing so well. My name is Sarah from Polished Pinkies, and I am doing a live tonight on all of the Akzentz bases and builders. A few weeks ago over on my personal account, Sarah from Polished Pinkies, I went through the different hard gels, and then I realized that I missed some information and thought, well, let's make this a live so that this can be saved and rewatched as you need it, as you have questions regarding the Akzentz line. Now this is regarding bases and builders. We're going to go over hard gels, we're going to go over usages and things like that. Hi Karen, how are you doing? I hope that you are doing well. I am going to do my best to go in order. I'm also going to be covering when to use what and on what type of client these products would be best for. So I'm going to clear the decks. And if you have any questions regarding any Akzentz products or any of the products that Polished Pinkies sells, I'm happy to answer your questions. You can get all of these products at polishedpinkiespro.com, and let's hop into it. First thing that I want to go over is X-Bond. X-Bond is a beautiful base coat. This is a universal bonder. Excuse me. It's a universal bonder. That means that this particular base coat is going to just have an excellent bond to the natural nail and can be used with any system. So this is a thin viscosity, very, very thin. You can even see it just kind of runs off that bristle. A very, very thin viscosity base coat. This is not going to be a base coat that you would put any extra product on. I'm going to try and show you as I'm going. And that way you can understand when we are working on a client. So on a client, when you're using X-Bond, you are going to scrub in a very thin layer. We're not building this product. We're not letting it quote unquote self-level, nothing like that. So we're just taking a very small amount of gel. I'm actually gonna wipe off what was gonna land on those bristles. And this is what you would scrub into that natural nail. Now, all of the Akzentz products that we're talking about today are a 30-second LED cure. So very, very thin. You won't even be able to see really anything. So this is just a bonder gel. Back when it was brand new, let me tell you what I was doing. I was taking a bead and I was allowing it to self-level, working that bead down the nail. And let me tell you what happened. I flooded all the time. This particular gel is not meant to do that, okay? So we want to keep X-Bond really nice and thin. It doesn't really offer any stability or strength to the nail. There really is no need to apply extra product when we're using X-Bond. Nice and thin. 30-second cure, which I am gonna, oops, I just made a gash on that. I am going to cure this just because I don't wanna have wet gel everywhere. Okay, so X-Bond can go under any of these products. X-Bond can be paired with Luxio Build. X-Bond can be paired with Luxio Base. I'll talk about that in a moment. X-Bond can be paired with Balance, Enhance, Trinity, Structure, any of these products. This is a universal bonder, okay? Now we're gonna move on to the next base coat, which would be Luxio Base. Now, these are not similar. This really, really thin, has no flexibility or strength or anything like that. You're just gonna scrub that into the nail plate. This one, on the other hand, is a dream to work with. I love Luxio Base. This is a little bit thicker of a base coat. It's really just a juicy, lovely to work with. This is going to be for your gel polish manicures or for short nail overlays where the nail is very healthy and it doesn't need any kind of technical structure. You can build a slight apex with this product, but I wouldn't go thicker than that. It will run on you if you put too much product. However, let me show you how this product works. It's just so yummy to work with. Back in the day when I was in the salon, I would always call this the juicy base coat because you can just see like See that? Ooh, it is just so yummy and so easy to work with. And I just love it. So you would put on a wet layer. Now I know I have a lot of gel on here. So you would put on your wet layer, scrub that into the nail plate, and then I wouldn't cure this if I was you. I would go in just with a little bit more product, just a little, appropriate to the size of the nail, and I would create just a slight, ever so beautiful apex. Something that's going to level over the nail and make the natural nail look gorgeous, okay? Luxio base, juicy, delightful. You can flip that nail over. It's gonna self-level like a dream. Really, really easy to work with. Again, has flexibility, but really meant for a gel polish manicure on a natural nail or a very short gel overlay, okay? But do you see how, look at that, that is just so pretty. And when it cures, it's so pretty on the natural nail. Luxio base does come in colors. Which colored bases? Let's talk about that for a moment. I'll put this into the lamp. So Luxio, colored base coats. Why would you use them? You would use them because, especially for instance, in the spring and summer when we are using pastels and brights, you kind of sometimes can experience some shadowing from the color, and that's because we have sheer underneath. We have clear. If you used a colored base that is just a little bit of pigment, it's not fully opaque, it's just a semi-sheer, then it's going to help with that shadowing so that you don't have the naked depth behind the color. So what I would do if you chose to use a colored base, I would go in and I would scrub this onto the nail plate, just a really thin layer, just like you would think Expand, what I was explaining. A really thin layer, give that a 30-second cure, then go in with your colored base, and then from there you could put on your gel polishes and things like that. Luxio base is lovely and juicy. Now, before I talked about how you could pair Expand with any of these products, let's talk about what you can do with this. If your client needed a little more structure, you could pair it with Luxio Build. Lovely combination right here. Or if your client needed a flexible base and then a hard rigid gel, then you could do something like a thin layer of Luxio base and then go in with Enhance. So you can kind of customize depending on what your client's nail needs are to find that perfect balance of flexibility and rigidness. So that's definitely something you can do. This can be used under any of the Akzentz products, just whatever your client is needing. One thing I did say earlier is that you would scrub in a thin layer of this and then go in and use this as a builder. I absolutely would do that because sometimes I needed the adhesion that Expand provides, but I also wanted the beautiful self-leveling, really thin application that Luxio base provides. So I kind of paired those together. So don't be afraid, even on your gel polish manicures, your natural nail clients, you can do a little bit of mixing and matching. And sometimes I would just mix and match for the fun of it because sometimes using the same base over and over gets a little boring, right? As nail techs, we like to have a little play while we are doing the manicure. So I would pair those together every now and again. Next up, we have Luxio Build. Now, Luxio Build is not a base coat. I can't stress that enough. This does not have bonder in it. So you have to pair this either with Expand, this guy, Luxio base, or Adhere, which I would not, I'm giving this as an option, but honestly, I would never pair this together. Instead, I would pair it with one of these two. So either Expand or Luxio base as my bonder, and then I would go in with Luxio Build. Now, how many times, how loud can I tell you that I love this product? I love Luxio Build for so many reasons. This is a thick, I'm gonna call it thick, I guess you could call it medium consistency, but for what it is, it's a thicker gel and it self-levels so easily and it makes your life so simple. When would you use Luxio Build? You would use it on clients who need just a little bit of structure, or who need just a little bit of something because maybe they should have nice healthy nails. They don't need a ton of structure. Maybe their nail flexes. This is going to flex beautifully with it. Maybe their nail is a little more rigid and doesn't have a lot of flex. This is going to be great with it. But in general, you want healthy, beautiful nails. Let's put this to the test, shall we? Does adhere require a primer? That is a great question. Thank you for asking that. It does not require a primer. However, could you use one? Yes. Yes, you can. We have a primer called a Fix-It, and you could put primer on, and then you could go in with your base coat. And you could put that primer underneath of X-Bond. You could put the primer underneath of base. You could put that primer underneath of adhere. So whatever you are needing. So the Fix-It primer, I don't have one here to show you, but it is a traditional sticky primer. Okay, so, all right, let's show you how Luxio Build works. I'm gonna try and figure out which one of these clear swatches. Oh, it was this one because I dinged it. This is X-Bond. This is the one that we paint on paper thin. We don't need any structure with X-Bond, not even a little. So I'm going to use this swatch just to show you the beauty of Luxio Build. Karen, you love Luxio Build? Yeah, it's just such a beautiful product. So what I would do is first go in and create a slick layer, a wet layer. Some people call it a slip layer, whatever you're calling it, great. On the nail, and then you're gonna go in with a bead appropriate to the size of the nail, and you have a couple of options here. You can TikTok it, absolutely, or you can, let me refresh my bead. You can lay it toward the back and kind of bounce it. Now I don't want to go toward the cuticle area because the gel is going to self-level itself. And then you can just draw this gel right forward. And then from there, you can either use your bristles or you could use a detailer brush, which I have one right here. You can use a detailer brush and just encourage that gel. Because you have a wet layer, it's just going to kind of melt into that wet layer. And here's the trick with Luxio Build. Leave it be. I promise you, it's gonna do the work for you. Okay? So I've barely done anything and you can see it's just self-leveling itself. Even on, swatch sticks, they have that funny ridge right here. Look, it's self-leveling right over that ridge. I love Luxio Build. You can turn the nail upside down if you want. You can, what I would do is on my client, I'm gonna put this right here. So when I was doing 4 fingers, I would make a wet layer, draw the bead down the middle. Make a wet layer, draw the bead, make a wet layer, draw the bead, make a wet layer, draw the bead. Go back to the first one, fix any little things that I might need to fix, go to the next one, fix it, fix it, fix it, and then in the lamp it goes. It already does the work for you. That is how quickly Luxio Build works, and that is how easy it makes your life. I can't say enough good about Luxio Build. Now it is a little bit spicy in the lamp, so you're gonna want to warn your client that it does kind of have a heat spike. So what do we do when we have a heat spike? You go in the lamp for 3 seconds and then out. And then once the heat dissipates, then you can go in for a full 30-second cure and it shouldn't have any more heat. So it is a beautiful product. Again, you can flip that nail upside down if you want to. Gorgeous, absolutely lovely, lovely to work with. I am going to fix this little piece right here. But remember, the rule with Luxio Build is just don't faff with it too much. It really will do the work. See how I kind of pushed it and then it healed itself. So you're just kind of telling it, I want you to go that way, and then it just does it. Amazing. Love it, love it, love it. Super Hollow said I started using Enhance and X-Bond and I love it. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Those are really beautiful gels to work with. All right. Moving on from Luxio Build. Now, before I move on, I do want to mention that so far, these 3 products, these are all soak-off gels. So they are considered soft gels, and you can remove the combination of product with an e-file. If you chose to do an old school traditional gel polish manicure where it doesn't have any apex, where you're not fixing anything, you're just scrubbing in a base coat, you're putting on 2 coats of color, and then you have a top coat, I wouldn't remove that with an e-file because it's far too thin. However, if you have built any kind of structure or have any extra little bit of gel, then you can gently and carefully remove any of these products with an e-file, or you can file down to a thin layer and then in the end remove with acetone. Beautiful products to work with. Moving on, we're moving into the hard gel realm. Now, hard gel is lovely. I am a big fan of hard gel. I think hard gels are great for short nails, medium length nails, long nails, and of course, if you wanted to create enhancements, absolutely a dream to work with. So let's go through the different gels here and how you would use them. First up is Adhere. I don't think this is open. No, it's not. There's the tab. This is not open. This is just a traditional hard gel base coat. This is not acetone proof. So you would scrub this into the nail plate, give it a 30-second cure, then go in with a builder gel. So I'm gonna put that one off to the side because it's kind of self-explanatory. The other one that I don't have open is the Ultra Gloss. This is a finishing gel. This one in particular is our non-staining top coat. However, in a pinch, if you ran out of any of your gels and you needed to do an overlay, a fill of some sort, you could use Ultra Gloss when you're in a pinch. It is a very rigid gel. It's a very hard. When it cures, it's very hard. Does not have a lot of flex to it, but it does cure to a very high shine and is also stain proof. So I'm going to put that one to the side as well. Now let's talk about the 4 main ones here. Lovely Nail Loft. I'm just joining. Can you say again what the difference in X-Bond and Adhere is? Yes, absolutely. So X-Bond is a traditional soak-off base coat. However, this is a universal bonder, so you can put this under any gel, really thin. You're going to scrub that into the nail plate, and then in the end, if it needed to be removed, you could soak it off. Adhere, on the other hand, you're going to scrub that into the nail plate, really thin again, because we don't need any, with either of these products, you don't need it for the strength or the correction of the nail plate. So these ones are just bonders, traditional, very thin bonders. This one does not soak off, this one does, all right? Then on to these beautiful gels here. First up, we have Enhance. Let's put them in order. First up, we have Enhance. Enhance is the OG thin viscosity. It is beautiful and lovely to work with. You can see that it moves really nicely. I'll take out my handy dandy brush and show you. It just is lovely to work with. It is going to self-level. This one does not have a bonder, so you would have to put down a layer of X-Bond or Adhere, whichever one works best for you and your client. It is just, it's dreamy. You're gonna put that on in a really thin layer, give that a 30-second cure. Now this does have a heat spike. My bristles are a little dry, I can feel it. So I'm just gonna work this while I'm talking to you. You would have to warn your client that it does have a bit of a heat spike, so they just need to be prepared. I find that if we warn our clients that there is a bit of a spicy nature to these gels, they are less frightened when it happens. I've gotten to where I just say it could be a little spicy. And that way they know to count to 3 in the lamp, count to 3, come out, wait for the heat to dissipate, and then in you go for the full 30-second cure. All right, so Enhance is a beautiful self-leveling hard gel. It does have a very good amount of flexibility and rigidness. It's not super, super stiff when you cure it. So this is a lovely gel for an overlay. It's also a lovely gel for sculpted nails. Now let's move on to Balance. Balance is a medium viscosity gel. You can tell that I dug into this a couple weeks ago, and it does not self-level. This is going to be a beautiful gel for an overlay. This is going to give a lot of strength. This is much more rigid than Enhance. Okay, when it cures, it's much less flexible. And that's what I mean when I say it's more rigid. So this gel is lovely to work with. Now, I know that it doesn't self-level. However, when you apply it, I haven't worked with Balance in a minute, so please forgive any mistakes that I do while I'm showing you this. But first, you would put down a bonder like X-Bond or Adhere. Let's pretend I've done that. and then we give that a 30-second cure. Then you would go in and you would create a wet layer here with your balance. And from here, you would create your structure. So pick up a bead that is appropriate to the size of the nail, and then we're gonna pillow it toward the back, pillow it toward the side over here, and then with a flat brush. Again, I haven't done this in quite some time because I'm usually working with Trinity or Enhance or even Luxio Build. So, but the point that I'm trying to make is that we want to be able to like draw it forward with a flat bristle, because the less digging you're doing, the less you're going to have to finish file, okay? So we want to create our beautiful structure by kind of pulling that gel into place. And then once you are happy with it, you would go in with your 30-second cure. And from here, you could finish file if necessary, or if you have worked on creating that beautiful shape with a flat bristle, right? So we're going this way rather than tick-tocking and things like that. We're gonna pull with a flat bristle to create our shape. And then if you're happy with your structure, then you can just move forward. So that is something you can do with balance. Now another thing, let me get this into the lamp. Another thing that you can do is you could create down the center of the nail. I have another swatch stick right here. Down the center of the nail, you could create a small bead of balance to create the strength in your apex area. Then you could cure that, go in with Enhance, which is going to self-level, walk that over it, and then you have a combination. So don't be afraid to give different combinations a try depending on what your client needs, depending on the length of their nails, depending on how much of a C curve they have, depending on what you have to create. Maybe their nails are like mine and they grow on the downward. And so we're always constantly having to pick back up or create enhancements for people like me so that their nails are straight and beautiful and not growing on the down. So you can create all kinds of customized outcomes for your client just with the different Akzentz gels. Okay, next up, let's talk about the most popular gel. It is Trinity. Trinity is the most popular Akzentz gel. Now that is because it is a 3-in-1. So you can use this as a bonder, as a builder, and as a no-wipe, non-staining, no, not no-wipe, I'm sorry. You'd have to wipe it off. I meant non-staining top coat. So it's a beautiful, beautiful, easy to work with gel. Absolutely lovely. And technically it is a thinner viscosity than Enhance. So this is gonna move a little bit quicker. There you go. So when I pick that up, that falls down quicker than Enhanced did. It is lovely. On some of my clients, I use this as the bonder. So I scrub that onto the nail plate, give that a cure, and then I go in with a wet layer, and then I create my structure. On some of my clients, I have to use X-Bond as my base coat, and then I use Trinity as my builder. So it just depends on your client's needs, what you want to do, and why. Karen says, love, love, love Trinity. I second that wholeheartedly. Lovely Nail Loft said, it self-levels like a dream and the colors are my client's favorites. I was just gonna say that. Thank you for saying that. I wanted to touch point, go back and tell you, Enhance comes in clear, which is what I'm showing you today, but then it also comes in a pink. Now the pink is clear like this, it just has a pink hue. It's gonna give life to the nail plate. So it's not a coverage gel, it is just a sheer wash of color over the nail. And then it was just released in soft white, cool pink, and soft peach, I think are the names. So those ones are coverage colors and they are beautiful. So Enhanced does come in colors now. Balance comes in clear, which is what I've shown you. It also comes in warm pink and cool pink. Trinity comes in 6 shades plus clear. So there's SW or SC1, SN1, SW1, and then there's the Series 2, which is SC2, SN2, and SW2. And you can see those colors on the website. They are beautiful and very, very popular with our customers. They're great coverage colors. Just like how I mentioned with Luxio Base, what I would do is I would scrub this into the nail plate as my bonder, then go in with the coverage color. The reason why I choose clear as my base coat is because clear is going to be penetrated by light the easiest. So that's going to give you the best bond to the nail. And from there, you can use coverage colors to create any, like if you needed to cover a bruise or like on the nail plate, or if you needed to not have shadowing behind the colors your clients have chosen. Or another nice thing about Trinity is that you can go in with the coverage color and then it just wipe off the inhibition layer and it's done. It's a one-step gel. So there are lots of different ways to use Trinity. It's a fantastic gel. I can't say enough good about it. Last but not least in this series is structure. Structure is for those of you who like to sculpt. You would not use structure on a natural nail, not even on a long natural nail, in my opinion. I just don't think it's necessary. If I had a long natural nail, I would go in and I needed more strength, I would go in with balance and then either Trinity or Enhance to create my custom mix. I would be using these because they self-level. I would be using this for the strength. Structure, this is the strongest gel we have. I'm going to show you in a moment. It is stiff. Okay, this is not going to self-level. You are not going to want to finish file this. This is meant to create strength on those long enhancements where we need a lot of strength in the apex. Okay, so beautiful structure. This is a spicy gel. I'm not going to lie to you. It is spicy in the lamp. So we're going to be very careful where we're putting this. We're going to tell our clients that this is going to be spicy and we're going to get through that first heat spike together, okay? I am going to grab a nail swatch so that I can show this to you. So this, wherever you put it, however I put it, let me just take that off. It will not move. This is not going to self-level. This is not going to do anything. You basically have to create a very ugly layer of structure for your clients with those long sculpted nails, okay? You're gonna create in the apex, you're gonna create like a very lovely amount of strength. Give that a cure, right? See how ugly that is? Yep. This is not a gel for beautiful enhancements. We have to create beauty with structure, okay? So you're gonna give that a cure. Remember, this is spicy. Then you could go in with Trinity over top. In fact, let's do it together. Let me put that in for a 30-second cure. And then we will go in and fix everything and make it lovely and beautiful. Now on those long sculpted nails, I think in general, you are going to be finish filing, right? Do you agree? I think that it kind of just, you have to make those into a shape. So even if you went in with Trinity, you're gonna have to give it a beautiful finish file. But this is just gonna make your life easy. So maybe depending on the type of sculpted nail you are creating, you might want to pair structure and balance together. Or you might want to pair these two together, which is Trinity and structure. So it's all customizable. All right, from here, what I would do, now I am not somebody who creates long sculpted nails, so I apologize if I am speaking incorrectly here, but this is just in my amateur thoughts. This is what I would do. I would create a wet layer. I would have that strength, and also I wouldn't leave it quite like that. I was just showing you that it was, you know, it just isn't gonna move. So I was a little bit dramatic with what I did with the structure there, but for the sake of this live, we'll just keep rolling. All right, then I'm gonna go in with a bead appropriate to the size of the nail. And from here, since I have that wet layer, I can create that structure very easily. It's going to melt and just be beautiful all by itself. All right, we are going to kind of manipulate this using our detailer brush. Now this is ending up quite thick, but like I said, when you are working with a sculpted nail, you're gonna have to finish file anyway. So I could kind of flip that upside down, try and get it to be as nice of a level as you can. It's not gonna be perfect, but we're gonna finish file that into place. At least you would on a client. So I hope that that gives you a rough idea of how you would use structure in the salon. All right, let's do a quick recap, shall we? Let's see. Hi, Sheridan. Hi, Jess. Hi, everybody. Oh, yep, Jess, I'm talking to you. I thought you meant a different Jess. Hi. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. I'm gonna move these out of the way. First, we covered X-Bond. X-Bond is a thin base coat, thin and watery. This one does not need any extra structure. You're not gonna build any kind of structure with this because you will flood the nail and then you'll be like, Sarah was right. So just take my word for it. We're gonna scrub in a really thin, paper thin layer onto the nail plate. Give that a 30-second cure and then go in with whatever other gel you are preferring. Next is Luxio Base. Now this one you can create a slight structure. It's absolutely lovely to work with. This is just a traditional gel polish, juicy base coat. It is just dreamy. I can't, back in the day I loved me some Luxio Base. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, next is Luxio Build. This, I can't say enough good. Other than that, it does have a heat spike. I think that's its only downfall. Now this, you could create like a very small enhancement with it if your client broke their nails, but they would have to be like sport short. If they broke a corner, you could fix a corner with this. One time I built an extension, probably that long. I know you can't see my natural nail, but it had pretty good length. And the whole time that I had it, I just kept squishing it. It's very flexible. So this isn't ideal for a enhancement at all. Really, this is just for beautiful, healthy nails that need a little something, and you want to create a little structure for your client, and it's just lovely to work with. All right, next up we have lovely Nail Loft is saying, I love X-Bond. It really does adhere so well. Absolutely. Karen, this is a great refresher, Sarah. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Next up, we're going to go over the hard gels. Adhere, all of these are soft gels. They can be soaked off. Okay, the first three. Adhere is a hard gel base coat. This is just going to be scrubbed in really thin. You're not going to use this for any kind of structure or anything like that. This is just a bonder. Next, we would talk about Enhance. Enhance is the OG hard gel from Akzentz. It is a thin viscosity. It does self-level beautifully. Lovely. Just a lovely overall base hard gel to work with. And then next we have Balance. Balance is a medium viscosity. It is not going to self-level, and it does create a lot of strength for sculpted nails or for medium to long natural nails. You might choose to do an overlay with Balance. Lovely. Next is Trinity, which is our most popular gel. This one self-levels like a dream. It is a 3-in-1. It can be used as a bonder, can be used as a builder, can be used as a non-staining top coat. So it has lots of jobs, and it does a very good job at what it is. Last but not least is Structure. Structure is for sculpted nails. It adds incredible amounts of strength. This is a very rigid gel. It is not flexible. It is going to do its job when you are creating long extensions. And then last but not least is Ultra Gloss. This is our OG non-staining top coat. This is for your hairdressers. You can use either Trinity or Ultra Gloss. All right, I think that covers everything. If you have any questions regarding Akzentz products, you can always message us. We're happy to help in any way. And all of these are a 30-second cure, and you can get them at polishedpinkiespro.com. And until next time, have a good one. Bye. Oh, one more message. I learned so much about the products I already use. This has been excellent. I'm so glad you felt that way. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Bye.